A few weeks ago, I was on LinkedIn, which is just slightly better than Facebook in the realm of levels of hell. But there was an infographic from you about who your clients are and what you've done. And I looked at it and I took a picture of it even. And I thought, that's what I want my business to look like. So I got to get Christy on the phone and find out what she's doing. So what's the journey? And maybe you want to break it up into steps from where you were a couple of years ago when you're like, I don't know how to get this thing going, to today where you have an envious infographic.
Gosh, where to begin? Well, I think, an important thing that a lot of your listeners will connect with as people of faith is that I was working as a full-time pastor. So I'm ordained. I was operating as a lead pastor in the midst of the pandemic in a mid-sized church, and it became for me very unsustainable, unfortunately, which I think is probably a story we would hear from a lot of pastors. But the weeks got longer and longer. I had all part-time staff, despite the mid-sized nature of the church, and I didn't want to overload anyone, and so I just kept doing more and more.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, 3 teens at home, and doing the virtual school thing, which was really tough.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and a husband with an aggressive job. So my 60-hour work weeks were no bueno. It was not working. And as I really journaled about that, prayed about that, and looked for the right resolution, ultimately came to a place where I realized that the obedient thing would be for me to step away from that ministry situation and reinvent. It was really scary because, particularly as a woman, just opportunities are limited. And it had taken me a long time to get into that space. And I had invested a number of years in that congregation and really felt like things were moving in a great direction. But yet it just wasn't sustainable for me. So as I
don't know if I've told you this, but there was a year right when I transitioned from pastorate to coaching that God, I don't have a word of the year, but that word that God said, your word this year is sustainability.
Yeah. Oh boy, what a great
literally
word.
told me that. Yeah. And so when I'm telling people what I want to charge for coaching, while, coming out of the ministry, it just feels like garbage coming out of my mouth. God said, you have to be sustainable.
Right. Right. And I think for me, I kind of stumbled into coaching. So I have a friend who is a business owner, HR consulting business, and took me to lunch and said, would you consider just coaching this woman, this leader? And there were some interesting aspects to the assignment that I felt like would really be positive for me. And so I thought, well, I'll give this a try. I'd been in human resources early in my career and, done some employee relations kind of work. So I thought, well, this could be interesting. So I spent time with this woman. And at the end of our first call, I thought, oh, this is it. If this is a job, this is what I want to do. But I think the point you're referencing was, so I was like, let me get trained. Let me figure out how to do this. So, kind of March of 22, I jumped into some CAM classes to try to understand what would this be. And for me, that was a natural extension of some of the opportunities to train as a coach, to be trained in some of the Christian ways of thinking about coaching. I really wanted to continue to be a light, be a presence, really, in many ways, be a ministry presence to people that I knew were really struggling in the workplace, some of them. And that's exactly the way this has unfolded for me. So that one opportunity turned into more. And that leader.